Alright/X/, the pictures I took today were originally meant for /K/, but today while I was out hiking, shit got weird. Let me preface this by saying that I have lived in this area in southeast Pennsylvania my entire life, and have spent many years of my life in the woods hiking, hunting, and dicking around with firearms. I know the area, and the wildlife with all its subtle nuances very well, but while I was out in the woods today, things were different. Story to follow. Now, normally, when I'm home alone from work, 22, and live with parents, I'll go out to the local reservoir which borders some state game lands, and has some hiking trails, along with some abandoned old hunting trails, and game trails. Today I decided to take my old dog Sugar with me while I was out hiking. Sugar is a 12-year-old, 17-pound Cocker Spaniel, who was raised as a fowling dog, and has been a loyal companion since 2001. Today I decided to go in the woods a little deeper than normal and wanted to get her out of the house, so I dragged her along with me. Today I decided to take one of the old disused game trails that starts early off of the main trail, about a mile into the woods, and was going to hike it to its full extent, as I had only ventured a short distance onto it once before, but the scrub was a little too thick at the time. So after I had gotten my water bottles together and the blue mug I used to give the dog drinking water, we start off across the road leading into the woods. Now I am pretty keen on wildlife, and it literally was as if the second I crossed the road into the woods, all noises stopped, along with the cold breeze that was blowing through. I mean, I had heard birds when I parked the car, but it was goddamn deafening silence when I crossed that road. The dog didn't seem to notice or mind, so I didn't pay much attention to it, as she was already on a scent and having a good time marking the trail as dogs do. Pick related. She's still sharp enough to follow a scent and doesn't seem to have any problems with walking. We give her pills for her arthritis too, and she seems to have no problems. Anyway, we started up the trail and I was dicking around trying to get a picture of my Keque. Like I said, this was supposed to be for /K/. Anyway, normally I would wait to try and get a picture so I don't get attacked by a wild soccer mom protecting her baby, but the trail was deserted, considering it's pretty overcast right about now. Now the main trail goes on around the whole reservoir, but most of the game trails intersect it at various points along the path, mainly leading down to the water, and up into the hills. Most of them are too densely forested for anything but deer to go through, but there was one that I knew of that was a little ways into the hike that I had tried going on before, but at the time, it was early summer, and it was overgrown, so I figured I'd go today before it really started growing out again. As I'm walking down the trail, I noticed that quite a few fresh trees had been knocked over onto the main trail, which is already pretty strange because we haven't had any serious windstorms lately, and the trees that were knocked down onto the trail weren't really that tall. It was around this time I noticed a strange paper cutout stamped into the ground, looked like one of those fucking diversity is strength stick figure things that are normally posted around a globe. You know the shit I'm talking about, stick figures of different colors holding hands around an image of Earth or some shit. Pick to follow after this. I had noticed two of these laying on the ground near where I parked my car, and just thought it was some kid's school project or something. Didn't really think anything of it until I saw them pretty deep into the woods. Anyway, I reach the game trail and start off into it. Seems different than I remember. Large branches that used to hang in front of the trail are now broken off, and it seems like the trail has been kind of widened. So I start off into it, dog still fucking around, stopping to piss every few dozen yards. About 20 minutes into the hike I see another one of those goddamn cutouts propped up in a tree. It was fucking weird enough to see it laying on the ground. Now it looks like it was hung there on purpose. I started thinking they might be trail markers, but the shit was made of paper, and in locations where it would easily be blown/washed away. I dunno, it was unnerving seeing it that far back. I started getting further back onto the trail where it more or less petered out into two separate, lightly used trails, so I took the one that would be easiest to follow back. Visibility at eye level was almost impossible, but lower down you could see through most of the trees and see out a ways. It was around the time that I snapped this picture that the dog started acting off, she stopped sniffing as much and would perk her head up from time to time and look around. Seemed weird, but she is old and her scents are pretty dull these days. I dunno, I didn't take it very seriously, so I kept going. Once again I picked up on that really deafening silence, but I attributed it to the fact that it was starting to drizzle a bit. I tried to drag the dog, who was at this point at DEFCON 1, around to take a picture. The second that I clicked the button on the camera to snap this picture, I hear a really loud bizarre noise, almost like a bullfrog croaking, crossed with a black bear roaring extremely loud, and it was much more drawn out. It was at this point I'm nearly yanked off my feet by my ancient dog, who summons the strength of a child with Down syndrome, mixed with the speed of a Kenyan Olympic sprinter. Leash in one hand, camera still in the other, I take off down the trail after her, hearing rocks and shit landing behind me, and hitting trees all around me. Dog still noping the fuck out continues until we reach the main trail, make a left, and sprint off down the main bit for over a quarter mile. I got up a little farther than I was, and I came across a really tall pine tree. Now mind you, this shit is deep in the middle of fucking nowhere, like even the game trail had tapered off into nothing. This is where the hairs on my neck and arms stood up, out in the middle of goddamn nowhere. I found some weird fucking toy sleigh tied around the base of this tree. I finished sprinting out of goddamn breath with the dog still trying to pull my left arm out of its goddamn socket, so I turned around long enough to snap this picture in the general direction of the sound I last heard, the rocks landing. I got the camera up as I saw what looked almost like a black trash bag, moving over the hill at ankle level, almost the way a manta ray moves with that weird sort of wavy corkscrew motion. I didn't catch what I saw, but it was on the right-hand side of the picture, next to the base of the blue mud where I saw it. Pennsburg, the reservoir in the northwest end of the county. The real question for me is what the fuck it was that I saw. I can't really explain the noises, nor the rock, but that bizarre movement, something I honestly can't explain. Nothing I have ever seen in the woods before has ever moved like that, skimming the ground almost as if it was manta ray. I'm at a loss, especially with my background of Innawoods activities. I just can't explain it. I'm going to see if I can get a friend to go back there with me sometime and see what else we can find. I don't want this to remain a mystery. This shit was weird, and I don't want to go back in the woods alone to take on something like that.